So I waited till the last moment, at least in my point of view, when I could just chime in and, form my opinion, whatever, over the incident at the Utah University with Charlie Kirk and his shooter being a furry of all things, a pro-trans, furry, blah blah blah, right? And if you're looking at the title of this video, you're like, what is it? What does it have to do with that? And like, have you guys ever like viewed to my channel, ladies and gentlemen, Mudahar, Hassan, blah blah blah, right? Um, like, ever thought to yourself that like homosexuals, trans, and like like a lot of like people who aren't women, like they kind of overact, if you will, like women. You know what I mean? Like they try a little too hard to toe the line and like act like them, and like girls being merciful and like playful. They're all about the mind games, tricks and illusions and you know poems and tongue twisters, all that stuff. That's what girls like. At least, that's just from my point of view, the male misogynistic view that I have. So these groups of people have a very, very harsh reality check when, Trump became president and he just declared that there's just two genders and like this nonsense has to stop. Like there is two genders, and like there's always going to be like those like one-off instances of people with like genetic disorders and stuff. But like they're the exception to the rule. Like if people want to be, you know, somebody, right? Like they just want to dress up as them. I think that should be okay. Like I'm a living example as that, right? Like I afford myself with the luxuries of the LGBT crowd, right? Like their rainbow loving ways, like the way they dress out outlandishly eccentric, at least compared to me, and like people can criticize and say like no, you're basically the same, and yeah, I can understand, but like again, once you start playing pretend, right? Like, okay, I want to go in the girls' bathroom. Sir, people take their daughters there. Sir, people are dressing in the female change room. Sir, please get out of the change room. And then you see like why these guys, like, they're shunned from society. Like they have to put on furry suits. They have to take large like overly I think like they want to rot their brains with the amount of narcotics that they use, and like the types that they use too. Like I just don't know a generation of, well, I probably, maybe I wasn't born in like the 60s or 70s. There's probably like, some crazy ass motherfuckers back then. But like people who like take like, cleaning products and this and that, and they get high with it and stuff. And like this isn't anything new. Like I remember there was this like documentary back in the day of people who took like dust cleaners for computers, like that stuff that like shoots air into like, computers and stuff. And then you get really high. It's like helium when people do it. Their voice sounds all weird and stuff, like Mickey Mouse. And then you have like deranged and stuff afterwards. Because it's like, it's insta brain damage, Like, what are you doing, right? Just like chill out. Here we are. These people that like, and let's be fair, like, if you really want to be technical as to why this has happened, like, look no further than the destabilizing forces of these communist parties that like try to like cause dissension in these countries. Like all these Chinese nationals that like got arrested for spreading propaganda on college and university campuses. It's a very real thing. It's a very real threat, and I don't mean to be like laughing about it. I just kind of find it funny because it's like, how are you gonna throw shade at another person's country when you can't even fix your own country, right? Like everybody's got their problems, but I think people see it as like, okay, America is so cool. or Canada or whatever, we gotta like mess them over, screw them over, so that like they're just as like in like poverty as the rest of us and stuff. So this trans shooter guy, whatever, like he's like 23, and if you see the picture of him, holy smokes, holy smokes. There was this young gentleman, right? And he kind of looked like Method Man, which is funny because he actually did, like what is it? Was he? I think he was on TikTok, if I'm not mistaken, right? And he got Method Man to like talk with him about like making recipes and all that stuff, and about how like people don't know how old he is, and like call him like gentlemanly sir or something like that. And he is very much indicative of like the dysfunction of like these younger generations. Like, you know what I'm thinking? And I'm sorry if I'm coming off as being insincere about saying this, but I think that the vaccines have aged some of these kids. And I'm not necessarily saying like just directly, but also indirectly, because it's like, you're a grown ass man, or adult female, whatever, and like you can make up your own mind about like the things that people say and what they do and stuff. These kids who are very much like, oh, scared, oh, people are dying, oh my god, I can't, and they haven't even left the country, like they, a lot of them don't even have like a driver's license, all that shit, and like to them, they're very much at the mercy of these you know hoax media baiting, rejects that like basically siphon the money of the taxpayers to buy like a like mere almost surplus amount. Like we're at a surplus when it comes to vaccines, right? So you have a surplus at the cost of the taxpayer. It was all a change of hands for money, and you have to point that out. And these kids, they got aged. They got their lives robbed from them, like an entire year or two. Canada, we had like a year and a half. I think some countries had like it worse, like 3 years plus or something like that. Oh my goodness! And for what? So that like these companies make a lot of money. That's all it's all about. And then like your government politicians are gonna push to keep these things, going for as long as they can because they're corrupt. And you can't prove it otherwise, because like, isn't it odd that like a lot of these politicians, if you look at like their previous occupation, like a lot of them actually have like a paralegal background. So I find that oddly convenient, but here we are. And you look at this shooting guy, this, I think, what was his name again? It's just not important. Everybody knows his name. It's just like some dumbass adult looking kid who dresses up in a furry suit, apparently. It'll be funny though if that it comes out that that was false, and they just threw that in there to throw shade at the guy. And he's like, "Oh, the fuck! I'm not a furry. I'm a hardcore Antifa member. I don't associate with the furries." Ay, 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 ay. And he's got to live with the fact that he killed a man in front of his wife and kids. So, like, say what you want about his, like, opinion on abortion, his opinion on, like, borders, gun rights, this, that. Like, as a man, you know that there's certain lines that you just don't cross. And if you cross those lines, like, and like, yeah, obviously this guy doesn't consider himself a man. He doesn't play by the male rules, right? And this is the jealousy that men have towards women, is that we as men know that we can't do shit like this. It's absolutely against our, like, our souls, our code of conduct, everything. Like, you just can't do that. Like, I can hate somebody, right? But if his wife and kid are there, right? And even like, unless he killed my family members, or whatever, like, what the fuck, right? Like, what are you doing? Like, there's got to be a limitation to what you're capable of doing. But like, and very much in the case of this shooter, right? Like, if you just look at his body, like, it's a waste. It's it's like an emaciated teenager, and like, this is actually abnormal. This is very much the norm. These the physical shape of kids, and like going back to like I can't believe I'm going to be saying this, but and I'm not saying this as to encourage people to do it, but like the guys who jump on gear and just like you know what I mean, like even if they're bullshitting people, selling supplements, plans, whatever. Dude, they got more going on than these guys do because it's like they wake up, they see themselves in the mirror, and then they're just like in make believe La La Land, right? They're painting rainbows, unicorns, trans kids, boys could be girls, girls could be boys, you know what I mean? And they're doing this all out of this like deep hatred not only of themselves but this jealousy of women and their ability to like basically maintain society, create life, right? Like a lot of these guys call themselves women, they want to call themselves girls because they want that role, that maternal role of mending and like maintaining life itself, right? Whether by procreation or by like the passing of knowledge and like the accentuation of beauty and like art. Like the greatest pieces of art come from women, about women, dealing with love, this romance, etc. And it's like it's the most timeless pieces of art, I'd say, like have to deal with like that very issue, like that very sorry topic. It's not issue. It's an issue for some people. It's an issue for this guy, by the way. It's because it's like, what do you think about it? What is really like the meaning of trans, right? The meaning of it is to take away the rights from women, to take away their personal space, to take away their whatever, right? Like if you talk to guys and you say, "Yeah, this girl's gonna come into your bathroom," they'll just laugh it off, and like some of them will be like a little bit concerned, but like, "Hey, none of these guys would be touching her or anything, or like whatever, right? She's just curious or whatever, right?" It's not that big of a deal. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if a girl walks up on me and sees me changing, like even if she has her phone out and stuff, and like yeah, that is humiliating, and obviously I don't want people to see my penis after like I've been working out and shit, and it's like all micro shrunken up, and like I'm all sweaty and stuff, because it's like that's how blood flows. You know what I mean? Like that one episode of Seinfeld said it best. He was in the pool, it got shrunk, the shrunkage, shrink wrap. Joey, I forgot his name. Damn it. What am I doing? I spoke too much. Anyways, um, but again, like it's not like the biggest deal in the world. But when it's the reverse, oh yeah, dude, like come on, man. Not just people's kids and stuff that like are affected by that, but just like people in general, like the on the individual case by case basis. Most women, if you ask them, do you want guys coming into your change rooms and shit? They're gonna say no. All of them are gonna say no collectively. And this is what this trans thing is all about. It's about taking that away from them. Like their sports, right? You see these girls, they're competing against these boys, these guys, these men who pretend to be women, you know, impersonate them, try to talk with like their vernacular. I kind of do that, but it's like I do that naturally because it's like, I don't know, some hormone problems I had when I was a teenager. Don't do drugs, kids. Excuse me. But like, they master it to a T, and I think like a lot of it has to do with the consumption of Twitter. And I kind of get that too with Instagram, which is why when I scroll Instagram, I turn that volume off. Like the music will just like fucking make my ears bleed after a while. I don't know, maybe that's just me because I'm into techno music. So like, you might not like my repetitive type of beats and my lack of lyrics. I mean, not all techno music that like lacks the lyrics, but it's just like, it's mostly like a vibing type of music. Whereas like, these songs, they're very much in the vein of sing-alongs of stands of like, vines or whatever, and like these kids, they just emulate it out, and then they know the template of how to be a girl by the time they've watched their upteenth fucking, TikTok video. And they just like, they know how to talk like a girl, they know how to move their hands like a girl, they know how to like, dance in sync like a girl, shake their whatevers. Ugh, seeing some of that zesty boy thing. Zesty boys, what are they doing dressing up with skirts and stuff? It's funny how Kanye West said, yo, I'm gonna dress up in this skirt and then you're gonna see how other people do it. It's like, yeah, of course. Of course. For black people, and like the fact that like they've been indoctrinated with like gay people. Gays, the gays indoctrinated them. Oh, it's like, back in the day, if you were to say, yo, Kanye West is a homosexual, yo, people will beat you up, especially when you're like really really famous. And now it's like, damn, what happened to society? Puff Daddy, Kanye, who else? Nah. Yo, Pharrell's talking about, he was in a dress at one point. He was wearing that dress. That kind of broke me because I always thought Pharrell was a cool ass guy. Like he seemed like this guy I went to school with, who was like cool and stuff. But then when I saw him in that dress, it was like, yo, that's the one thing that that personally I think that the guy I went to school with would never do. And it's just like it broke me because it's just like, no man, he was just cool. What'd you do that for? But they're two different people. You know what I mean? Like this shooting guy and this what else, the trans shooter that shot at the kids, like they're basically the same person. It's just like, different issues. One person wants to be a girl, one person wants to like put on like a, whatever, because he's too ugly. He like, if you look at him like aging wise, like he looks way older than he actually is. I think he's like 22, 23, and he looks 30s, man. And it's like not just that he looks that way. Like there's this one picture. I think he was when he was like younger, and like when you compare it to like the mugshot, he's like he has this smile and like I'm not gonna use that word. I use it way too many times. Sorry. Like use your imagination. If you're a viewer of my channel, you know what word I'm gonna use. Take a guess. Hey, if you guess right, you win. Holy cow, dude! And then what's the thing is, this is the reason, the sole reason I wanted to make this video. Okay, happy Friday, everybody. By the way, sorry. So it's such a grim topic. I can't like be my usual cheerful, flamboyant, jovial self because it's serious, but at the same time, I have to clear the air or whatever. Just like make myself certain I just need to talk and be special. Okay, it's my special time. It's mine, not yours. Mine. Okay, my special time. Okay, so in my special time, I think that with these guys, these and girls, mostly girls actually, came out and they started cheering and applauding like the shooter. Even like this one brown comedian, this fucking brown clown dog. Oh my god, dude. See, this is why disown Indians like no tomorrow, man. Because this shit's gonna pop off. You have to preemptive selling your people out before they sell you out. I sold you out first. And like, okay, so all these people who are doing this for the reaction of it, as harsh as this is gonna sound, I think it is necessary as kind of like a wake up call. Like, I say the same thing about Ethan Klein and his mercy for Hassan and the whole brigade of people who are against him and his family and Israel and etc. Just stop. And I'm not saying like, okay, now you have to like fight these people and all that stuff. It's like you've already won. Just stop trying to reason with them. Like these people are jealous of women and their capabilities and their beauty and this and that, right? And if you really want to think about the origin point, like you can say it was the whole Bruce Jenner thing, and when he came out and he started doing this like kind of behavior, and it was like well televised, and he was like a well respected person, and it's like if he does it, then it should be normalized across the board. And now we're seeing like how much of a mistake that was, because I'm sorry, and I know I could get out in like a lot of trouble for saying this, but women are sacred. They cannot be impersonated. They can be like you could be their shadow, you can like be their mirror image, but you cannot approach them like in that sense of like taking that role from them. And I think that that is the crux of these problems. Like the whole abortion debate, right, isn't necessarily taking the autonomy away from women. Although, in the cases of like the few cases of wrongful impregnation, I believe that abortion should be, on the thing. I don't know if Charlie Kirk was against that. I think he's like a hardcore Christian, so he's like die hard with his beliefs. And like, yeah, you're allowed to have that, but again, like you can see how, people, especially people who are very emotionally charged, can see you and see that as you saying something evil, which to me actually would kind of actually be evil in that sense. But like, you have to understand that he's trying to have a dialogue. He's not trying to like, hide behind the shroud or a furry mask. So it's important for these people to be evil. It's important for abortion to exist so that people who can they want to get an abortion can get an abortion. And if you find that personally it is not something that you'd want for yourself or your family, then don't do it. But you can't. And this is gonna sound really sad, but you can't stop people from doing bad things and being evil. And now more than ever, we need to understand that like you need to, as a man, because I can't speak for everybody, even other men, to be honest. I'll just speak for like men of my generation or in my disposition and stuff. People just like watch my YouTube channel and stuff, right? Um, just work out, you know, be nice to your mother. I should be more nice to my mom because if she gave you good genes, right? And then like raise a family, take care of your kids, provide for them. That's it. Oh, and clean the house. And sometimes you gotta like help your wife cook because it's not fair for her to cook all the time, and just usual like little things. Because when you really think about the broad picture as to why things like this happen, these are things that we can ask ourselves, but other people, they'll never understand it, unfortunately. Take care, everybody.